And what's your normal songwriting process? Obviously, this was an unusual setup, but do you normally write alone? Do you write with other people?
These days, I probably write more with other people, but I do when I write alone. They're usually the more personal songs. Like I'm more reflective, and maybe I'm working through something. The whole reason I started song was to express how I'm feeling, and often use it as a therapy to get through something. So I find that those when I'm doing that, those songs are still written solo. They're a bit more insular, and I can just work through that on my own. When you're in a co-write, you're sort of bouncing ideas, and it's much more of a social thing. And I think that's where the more upbeat, fun songs come from, because it is more social, and you get to have a bit of fun with it.
And you're also someone who records with other people. So I mentioned the song with Amber, and then you've also recorded a song with Cass Hopeton and Greta Zilla. So clearly collaboration is something that comes pretty naturally to you.
Well, yeah, I mean it's fun. That's what it comes down to. It's fun. I remember because I was very late coming into country music, but I fell in love with Catherine's Bone Shaker album. I think that was out at the time when I sort of started getting my head around it all, and I reached out to her, just cold call her. Someone gave me a number, and I reached out saying, "Would you be interested in singing a song on my album with me?" She had no idea who I was or what I sounded like, but she was great. She said, "Send through some tracks. Let me have a listen to what you do." And I just sent through some work tapes, and she goes, "Yeah, count me in." And she was a big supporter right from the start. And obviously Greta Zilla is one of my best friends. We've toured so much together. We've written a lot together, and we often helped each other. We didn't have managers, so we'd ring each other and go, "Hey, what do you think I should do here?" And just someone who you could springboard off. So, it was natural that we'd do something together. And Amber's a really good friend as well. And Billy Joe Porter, we just put that song out. She asked me to be on a song of hers last year. So yeah, and Cass is great. Like we all room together at Tamworth, so there's really good friendships, and it's just fun to sing with your friends.
Yeah. Now, another very regular collaborator of yours is Matt Fell, who produced this song, but he's also produced all of your albums. So clearly something happened on that first album where you went, "This is the bloke for me."
Yeah, it's funny as I mentioned, I was late into country music, and when I realized that's where I wanted to be, I stopped writing for about 18 months, and I really wanted to listen and take in some new influences and really get my head around the genre, because I loved it so much. I wanted to make sure I did it right. And in doing that, I was hearing records that would often catch my attention with the production. I'm like, "Oh, who produced this? Like, who am I going to work with down the track?" And Matt's albums always cut through. I was always impressed with them, always loved how they sounded. And I met Matt before we actually started working together, and we sort of developed a little friendship. And then I wanted to do Star Maker. So I went to Matt and we recorded, I think we started tracking 3 songs. It was Reckless Desires, Fire and Ice, and I think Blood Moon High. And Reckless Desires, Fire and Ice were my Star Maker songs. But that experience with Matt was at that point my most fun studio experience. We had Matt sitting in the control room playing bass, and Josh Schubert on drums in the drum room, and Glenn Hanna was sitting there doing the guitar parts in the same room as Matt, and I was in my little booth, and it all came together so quickly. Those guys were such a well-oiled machine, but they really captured what I wanted out of the song as well. I was like, this was a no-brainer. This was definitely the right choice. And obviously we had some success with the first record, so it was a no-brainer to go back. And when I went back, Matt said, "Well, if we're doing another one, let's kick it up a notch." So now before we do another record, every time I always go to him, "You got another notch? Have we got somewhere to go here?" Because if we don't have somewhere to go, that's probably the time to move on. But I think he enjoys the challenge. When I ask him, I'm like, "You got a couple of notches in there, mate? Where are we going?" So
Yeah. It's a good way to think of it, actually. Yeah, for you both to push each other.
yeah, and he definitely pushes me. I think my vocally I've improved since we started doing, recording together, and he pushes me to sing notes. He'll be like, "No, sing this." I'm like, "Didn't I sing that?" He goes, "No." So it really pushes me to keep going until I get it. But it's I mean, it's always a pleasure to work with him, and there's a real comfortability there, but we can still push each other and say no, yes. It's a good team, I think.